Oh gosh.
All right, are we recording?
We can.
Okay.
Are we ready? On the one, two, three.
Hi, welcome. You're listening to the Green Bean Podcast. I'm Adrienne Green, along with our co-host
Maddie Cupcakes.
and our guest for today, Miss Stacy Barr.
Stacy Barr. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm a little nervous.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you.
I'm tickled to be here.
So, for anybody who doesn't know Stacy, where have you been?
Yes.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh,
I think
man.
I think you're one of the first people I actually learned about when I moved to Big Spring.
Really?
Yes,
Were
actually.
they saying nice things or were they bad things?
I have never heard a bad thing about
Oh, you're so sweet. Somebody's lying.
you.
Some of my former employees may not say that.
Hey, you know what? Some of my former employees definitely won't say that.
So Stacy is the owner of Big Mike's.
I am the owner of Big Mike's along with my husband, Mark.
And Buck Easy's.
Big Mike's Farm Store, Big Mike's Jr., and Buck Easy's by Big Mike.
Yeah, and then up until recently, All Washed Up.
All Washed Up, yeah. We owned it too, but we sold it this summer.
And you also have a background in teaching.
I did teach for a short while, taught 6 years at Big Spring ISD, loved every minute of it. And then had the opportunity to do something different, so that's what I did.
All right. You are, whenever I think of just go-getters, like you're one of the ladies I think of.
Thank you.
Especially like when people are like, who can we put on a board? Who can we get? And then like, oh, Stacy Barr.
Yeah, Stacy's starting to say, I'm trying to form the word with my mouth and trying to say no. But I'm not very good at that. So that's how I end up stuck on something. And I'm not stuck, but I have, yes, we have, Mark and I both have been very involved in Big Spring. We love Big Spring and want Big Spring to be its best. So any way that we can help with that, then we want to.
Well, awesome. In case you don't know, the Green Bean Podcast is celebrating stories of growth. So growth in entrepreneurial stuff, business, craft, personal development, anything like that. And, growth of, just Big Spring. I think you mentioned that you had been here for 20 years?
I've been here 21, be 22 years in October. Mark, my husband grew up here, grew up at Cahoma, really at Vincent, little bitty wide spot in the road out in the northeast part of Howard County. And then he moved in 75 and farmed and ranched in Seminole. And that's where I met him, was at a cotton gin. And we've been married nearly 32 years. And his parents lived here, and they had a ranch out north of town. And his daddy kept calling him saying, how are you going to put cows on this damn ranch? And in Big Spring and live in Hobbs. And the next thing I knew, we'd moved back to Big Spring. And it was a great move for us. Big Spring is home. We love the people here. We love everything about Big Spring. And it's just home now. I mean, we love it.
And I imagine you've seen a lot of change here in Big Spring just in the time that you been here.
Yeah. Let me think. Where do we start? Mark, we moved here to ranch. And after a couple of years, I was just talking about this not 20 minutes ago at a different deal I was at with a bunch of girls. There was a gentleman here by the name of Frank Parker, a great friend of ours, that talked Mark into running for county judge. And Mark's granddad was the county judge here in the 50s. And then later, Mr. Carpenter, his name was Ed Carpenter, and then became state representative in the 60s and died in office in 65. So after Mark and I had been here a couple of years, ran into Frank Parker and found out that he worked on Mark's granddad's campaign. And he said, I think you need to run for county judge. And yeah, so Mark was county judge for 8 years. And that's how we got to really know a bunch of people. Of course, Mark knew a bunch of people here anyway. Mm-hmm. And then we got involved in stuff with State Hospital. Mark and I were instrumental in bringing Cars and Stars to Big Spring. We had seen it done in Hobbs. and they asked us to be on the Cars and Stars or the Volunteer Services Council Committee, and we did a couple of street dances in front of our house. And then we said, we know something that really makes money. And now this is the 18th year
Wow.
for Cars and Stars. Can you believe that? 18 years.
So Matt has never been to a Cars and Stars.
What?
I know.
I have briefly been to a Cars and Stars just because I knew one guy that did it, and I really haven't ever showed up to a Cars and Stars.
Were you there for the whole thing though?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to get, you need to buy a ticket this year. I'm going to sell you a ticket to Cars and Stars.
Deal.
So you can buy your ticket, but you won't be there because we have the festival.
Oh,
Is that the
yeah,
weekend?
it's April 6th.
But yeah, still buying a ticket is still worth it. 'Cause
Still
you
buy a
could win
ticket.
and
Yeah,
not
you
be
could
there.
win. You don't have to be present to win, but you do have to be present to sell your ticket.
Ah,
But I can help you with that too.
yes, ma'am.
So anyway, yeah, the Volunteer Services Council does so many great things for the state hospital, and that's what Mark and I loved about it. And but I kind of after 17 years, I've kind of turned it over. Somebody else's turn.
So, what is it that drew you to fundraising for the state hospital?
Doris Hubretsky, bless her sweetheart. She called us and asked us. We met her at church, and she said, "I would love for y'all to work with the state hospital," and that's how we got started. And like I said, we did that street dance for a couple of years. Billy Christie was still in charge of the Volunteer Services Council at the time. And for many years, they had a dance that Jody Nix played. And then we did the street dance for 2 years. We lived on a little bitty street over in Edwards Heights that we could block off. And we made a little bit of money. But then the next year, Ed Mohan was the superintendent of the state hospital. And I'll never forget saying, we know something that can really, really make some money. And he was intrigued. In the first year, we were so scared. We thought if we could just sell enough tickets to pay for the car and pay for the food, then we're good. And so we printed 600 tickets and we sold them at $100 a piece. And two people, still is this way, two people can get in for $100. And I'll never forget, I think we sold out of tickets the first year. We sold 600. And but it got down to the last minute. Everybody buys them last minute. Don't do that. Buy early, because it drives us crazy,
Did you hear that, Big Spring? Stop
Yes.
waiting till the last minute.
Stop waiting till the last minute. Yes, buy them as quick as you can.
Hashtag buy your tickets to Gallapalooza.
There you go. And I'm going to be gone, or I would go. We were just talking about that a while ago too. But anyway, so that's how the whole Cars and Stars got started. And then I think we did Cars and Stars for 2 years, and that's when Harley Davidson jumped on with us. And so we had, can I plug some people?
Yeah.
Pollard Chevrolet. Back then it was Bob Brock Ford.
Oh yeah.
And then Harley Davidson. And that's when it went from Cars and Stars to Cars, Stars, and Handlebars.
Oh yeah.
And so then when Harley Davidson closed, and by that point we had Star. And so now we've had Pollard and Star, and they've been great. And I really have the last 3 years kind of been very much in the back seat. Carl Reed is now the community relations director at the state hospital, and he's doing an outstanding job. He'll call me in a panic occasionally, and I'm like, "You're going to be fine. You don't need me, and it'll be great." We're going this year, but this will be the first time in 17 years I haven't emceed it. So it's okay. It's somebody else's turn. They need a younger generation to step up and take that over.
I actually heard recently today, twice, I heard somebody, I don't know if they were complaining, but they were just voicing an observation. They're like, it's like 20% of the people doing 80% of the things. And I'm like, well, because people don't they don't volunteer, they don't.
That has been a rule of thumb for years. 20% of the work is, 80% of the work is done by 20% of people. I've heard that my whole life. And I grew up in a small town in Brownfield. My parents were very involved in the community. I was taught that from an early age. You love the town you live in and you work hard for it. My, I mean, my dad announced many rodeos, play days, Chamber of Commerce banquet. I might be a teensy chip off the old block, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, we were just, whatever town I've ever lived in, I was always a part of the community. And growing up in Brownfield and then marrying and moving to Hobbs and working in Seminole, the first 10 years Mark and I were married, we were very involved in the Seminole community. And then after moving back here, we jumped right in. Of course, Mark's family has been in Howard County for decades. Mark's dad was on the college board for 25 years. My brother-in-law is now on the board. My mother-in-law was an instrumental part of getting phones to Vincent, Texas in the 50s. I mean, the Barrs have been here for a long time and we're always part of the community, and we just moved and fell right in that. It was just part of the way we were raised.
Is that something that y'all instilled into your kids?
Oh gosh, yes. Well, you remember my stepdaughter Andrea was the general manager of the Settles, and her husband was the executive chef, and she was president of the chamber. Involved. She and I both are members of PEO, which is a women's philanthropic educational organization that raises money for women's education. We have a chapter here in Big Spring. Maybe I started it because they're. I was asked to join in Hobbs, and then when I moved here, there wasn't one. And for 10 years, I didn't do anything. And then one day, a friend of mine, who was, matter of fact, my ex-boss, Ann McClarty, was at my house, and I had a magazine laying there that was PEO. And she said, "Are you a PEO?" I said, "I am." And she said, "My mother was one of those." And I said, "Okay, Stacy, there's your sign." So we started that here. We have helped several women here in Big Spring get money for their education, and it's a great group of women. That's where I just was. We had a pop-up happy hour, and so some of my PEO sisters were over there. But yeah, it's you help where you can. You just help where you can. That's the way I was taught, and that's what I believe in.
Well, that seems like a good place for us to take a break real quick, and we'll give some shout outs to our sponsors.
Quick shout outs to our sponsors, to Amp Nutrition for their sponsorship.
Absolutely. Splurge Boutique, our Galapalooza sponsors.
Oh, man.
Cisneros Law Firm, Wholesome Law Firm, Big Spring Abstract and Title.
I don't know why you're filming me.
Because I'm trying to give you the freaking camera, so.
Oh, so I can film you.
Take a cue. Also, thank you to Mary Lane's, Tita's Mexican Kitchen, Just for Him Men's Haircuts, Tubby's Kitchen and Catering in Midland, and Tis the Occasion and Business Solutions out there in Kahoma, and She Brews Coffee, which is all great stuff. So thank y'all for being sponsors on the podcast.
Don't forget Yo Mamas.
And Yo Mamas, our OG sponsor. So thank y'all so much for being sponsors for the Green Bean Podcast. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more with Miss Stacy Barr.